Hello everybody, this is Ice Blood. Welcome back to the Mercenaries. Today, we're starting someone very special. That is Mr. Jack Krauser. Mr. Jack Krauser. Krauser. Yay! Okay, now, I mentioned in a previous video, probably the same one where I forgot that Hunk was a character, that Krauser is my favorite character to play as. There's a couple very big reasons for this, and you will see it as we begin here in the village. Krauser has his magic arm, his special mutated arm. When his arm is glowing red like it is right now, he can use it, and that makes quick work of any boss monsters. The other part that makes him interesting is he only has one weapon. Well, okay, technically he has three. If you count his magic arm and you count his knife, then he has three weapons. But the main thing we're going to be using is his bow. Now, a couple things that make the bow very, very fun to use. One, it is surprisingly powerful, considering what it is. See? Look at that. Two, and this is more just a product of the fact that it's his only weapon, it means picking up ammo is very, very easy. We don't have to juggle multiple ammo types, which means it's very rare that we don't have enough ammo to work with. Since with a lot of characters you end up with, maybe you only have like, 4 rifle rounds and 3 pistol rounds and, 17 TMP rounds or whatever, and it's really not all that much and you can't do much with any of it. With Krauser, not likely to happen because there's only a couple things you can get. And that's arrows and flash grenades and maybe, if you're supremely lucky, a regular grenade. A hand grenade off a boss or something. So, what we're doing right now is the standard tactic in the village, which is to gather all of the bonus time before we start the fight proper. So, we have 3.5 minutes. Let's see, we're going to start the killings. We're going to use this as our beginning tactic for the village, just because it's still rather useful because of where bonus time is. But honestly, staying here in this warehouse to wait for all the monsters, I'm still stuck in WoW mode, to wait for all the ganados to show up, doesn't necessarily work all that well with Mr. Krauser here. He works best as a mobile unit, primarily because, well, his style just involves a lot of movement. You'll see that as we continue. Now, I say he's my favorite, and he's awesome for a few reasons, but... Whoa, that was creepy. In direct spite of that, honestly, it takes a little while to get used to him, because he's kind of unique. For the same reasons that he's good, he's kind of weird, and so it does take some time to get used to him. His arrows are not one shot, one kill, but generally speaking, you can get a kill with probably 2, most likely. It's a little hard to aim sometimes. Now, I'm not entirely sure why that might be. It could just be all in my head. But certain weapons I find somewhat difficult to use in terms of their aiming. I find, for example, the TMP is easy to work with for me, whereas the Punisher that Ada had, not so much. Now, it has the same targeting reticule, the same little red laser sight as any other weapon in the game, so I can't really tell you why I find it harder to aim one versus another, but it is. Now, that right there is yet another reason why Krauser is awesome. His kick is twofold, and you may have noticed by now, judging by just pretty much all of his moves. His kick, his knife, even his weapon. I mean, look at the fact that how powerful his bow shots are. It comes down to his strength. His kicks are very powerful. Not only does he have 2, but they are very, very powerful. So he is the powerhouse of the game. And remember when I was mentioning how Ada doesn't have much health, and how that makes her a little difficult to use? And I mentioned that Krauser probably has the most. Well, take a look at his health bar. Notice it goes all the way to the maximum. You can't get that kind of health bar in the main game without getting all of the yellow herbs. So this guy is, well, you could say, if you wanted to be, you know, little, what's the, no, great. See, there you go. That's what happens when you get cocky. Because you're a powerhouse, you end up dying for stupid reasons. Anyway, what I was saying is, if you wanted to be cynical about it, you could say that Krauser is easy mode, because everything about him pretty much spells out that you're going to have a relatively easy time surviving, which means you can focus entirely on upping your score. Because, of course, the most important part of any Mercenaries game is staying alive. If you die, your run is invalid. You don't keep your score, you don't get any prizes, the game is over. So, surviving is the first step, and with Krauser, you have the best shot at surviving. Now, you could say that his starting loadout is not all that impressive, and honestly, compared to some others, that is very true. The fact that he only has one weapon is definitely something to consider. The bow is useful, it is very useful, but it's not very versatile. For example, the TMP stuns with every bullet, which makes it pretty easy to keep a monster, keep a villager or whomever you end up fighting, to keep them at bay. It's very easy to use the TMP as a stalling mechanism. Krauser doesn't have that capability. He does not have that option. Now granted, he has his arm. And his arm basically makes it to where you don't need to worry about stalling anybody, because anything caught in Krauser's arm, in the trajectory of that rush forward, anything caught in that will die. That's what makes it so powerful against boss monsters. It does not matter how strong they are. It does not matter how much defense they have and how many shots they normally take. He will kill if the enemy in question is caught by his arm. So thanks to that, you don't really need much in the way of versatility, to be honest. You just need to save up his arm for either a boss monster, which is the most likely thing, or a huge group, because it also doesn't matter how many monsters are caught in the trajectory of his arm. All of them will die. So, all this stuff amounts to why Krauser is very powerful, and probably explains why he's my favorite to use. I like easy mode. I will not deny that. I like Krauser. I think he's a badass. I love the power. It's very visceral. The way that the camera shakes, you know, with his kick. The way that he, the kind of damage that his weapons do. It's really visceral. It's really cathartic. So I really like this motherfucker. But anyway, all that said, as you can see, that does not mean that he is a definitive, you know, one-way ticket to 5 stars. Just because he's powerful, just because he's versatile in his way, just because he's resilient, does not mean you will automatically get a free ticket into a high score. In fact, thanks to his lack of versatility in some degrees, for example, the aforementioned TMP, sometimes it's kind of hard to get a high score with Krauser. There are other characters that are made better made for high scores. For example, Hunk. If you know how to use Hunk, he is absolutely ridiculous for making a high score. His special move, you know, kind of like how Krauser's is his arm, or actually it's more like, you know, the contextual attacks you can do. For example, the kick. Hunk's kick, effectively, so if he has a stunned enemy, is a neck breaker. And again, if it's a human-sized enemy, it will die if it's hit by Hunk's neck breaker. That includes the Bella Sisters. It does not include the other boss monsters. But point being, he has a TMP. He uses the TMP just like Ada. And that right there was not the best use of his arm, but it did keep the combo going, which was useful in its own right. But now we have a couple of angry Bella Sisters to deal with, so I guess we will be using our nice little barnyard strategy here to keep ourselves safe while we handle them. Anyway, he uses the TMP, Hunk does, and since he's able to stun very easily, the common tactic for a high score with Hunk is to aim for the head, wait till they're stunned, break their neck, move on. Always, always, always moving. So kind of like how I said, Krauser is best used when he's moving constantly because of just the way that he works. Same thing to be said for Hunk. In fact, Hunk, it's necessary to be even more mobile, I would say. Now, let's see how we're gonna handle this. We need to. Okay, his arm's back, so we could probably just put. Let's put back on. There we go. Okay, I swear that one hit. That's a bunch of bullshit right there. We could probably jump down and use... Oh, here we go, some dynamite. Let's use that instead. That should be quicker. Or hopefully, anyway. And actually will be very good for the rest of this, too. Because there's a bunch of guys down there. Oh, ho, ho, ho. That was nice. Alrighty. We got at least one of them. Okay, we only got one. We still need to handle the other one. So, 48,000. Alright, so, like I was saying, just because Krauser is easy mode does not mean you'll automatically get a high score with him. We got 47,000, which is not bad. Well, depending on your definition, I suppose. It's not bad. It's 4 stars. That's decently good, especially for a player like me. But it will not suffice for what we're doing. We are getting 5 stars. We are getting the hand cannon. 4 stars will not do. So, let's see here. Let's get all our time as quickly as we can and try this again. Now, as you can see, while the barn is a good place to hole up in terms of making sure you live, it does not necessarily mean that it's a good place to hole up if you're trying to get a high score, because we didn't keep much of a combo up there. Now, we got the free 6 kills on that bonus time, that's for sure, and that was certainly useful. But in terms of a high, an advanced tactic, not very advanced. In fact, it's pretty pedestrian, I would say. Now, this is kind of interesting, I noticed. So far, the 3 characters we've used, Leon, Ada, and Krauser, all have knives to handle barrels. That is not the case in earlier versions of the game. In fact, the only people in the first version of the game to have knives were Leon and Krauser. Ada did not have a knife to begin with. She was given a knife in the PlayStation 2 version because her extensive DLC campaign, it's not really DLC, it's just like the add-on campaign called Separate Ways, which kind of tells bits and pieces of the story from her perspective and kind of shows how certain elements of Leon's journey occurred. That was a more extensive story than the Assignment Ada minigame. I guess it's a minigame. It only takes about half an hour to finish. It was more extensive than that, so they decided to give her a knife to make it more along the lines of the standard game. Now, since they gave her a knife in that version, she was also given a knife in Mercenaries, and I think she was given a knife in Assignment Ada. So in every version outside of the original, she has a knife. And so she's the 3rd out of the 5 characters to have a knife in Mercenaries. Meaning that the only 2 we ever have to worry about that with are our next ones, which will be Hunk and Wesker. So you might wonder, well, how the hell can we get through barrels then? If we can't use a knife, what do we use? We use bullets. Thankfully, both... Well, actually, I say both. Most of the characters in Mercenaries do have a standard sidearm. The weapon that is easiest to justify wasting a bullet to get rid of a barrel. Okay, now in Hunk's case, it's the TMP. I forget if it has a different name. I think it's a custom TMP that Hunk actually uses. And then for Wesker, he does have a pistol. Wesker is the most outfitted of all the characters. He has the most guns, he has the most grenades, and it's pretty badass, but we'll see him later. He's going to be our last character to work with in this series. So thankfully, the 2 characters that don't have a knife do have an equivalent in the sense that they have a gun whose bullets aren't particularly expensive, particularly rare, whatever you might want to say. Now, I'm not sure entirely why this information is relevant to any of you, but it seemed interesting to me, so I thought I would share it. Just a bit of evolution throughout the game's lifespan, which again has been around for this long, definitely is going to have plenty of that, and so it's a lot of fun actually, I think, to look into what they've changed and what evolved and stuff like that. So there you go. That's a bit of trivia for you today while we're trying to murder people with Mr. Jack Krauser. Now this run's not going so bad actually, because we have, I mean, 28,000, it's decent. It's definitely decent. But we're not even halfway there. But we have almost 4 minutes left. And like I think I mentioned before, that the Bella Sisters are the easiest boss monster to deal with, and thus they end up giving you the least amount of points. But the nice little trade-off there is there are a lot of them. They constantly respawn. I'm not sure how many pairs. I think that's how it works. Every time you deal with one Bella Sister, there's going to be another. So I forget actually how many pairs there are, but there's definitely quite a few more Bella Sisters than there are any other of the boss monsters. Like, for example, I think in the castle there's only 2 Garradors. Actually, there might be 3, and there might even be 4, because honestly, now that I think about it, I believe we've only ever faced 2 in this series so far, but there is an area in the castle where there's a bonus time. One of the last areas in the game actually, and if you hang around there long enough or hit the right point in that room, you can summon 2 of the highly armored Garradors. You might remember them. They're the ones where the only vulnerable spot in their entire body is the plaga on their back, and everything else is heavily armored, which means it takes no damage at all. So there's those. So I think there might be as much as 4 Garradors. There's like 3 or 4 JJs, and then there's like 2 Dr. Salvadors in the water world. I think there's like 6 or 8 Bella Sisters. At least 6, probably closer to 8, maybe even 10. I'm honestly not entirely sure. Like anybody who's watching this, maybe you can keep count for me. How many Bella Sisters have we fought so far? Ooh, damn, that was nicely placed. Okay, so we have 2 first aid sprays. We should be safe. But see how many arrows we have? 84. 84 rounds. Rounds, quote unquote. I think they're explosive, so maybe that still counts for something. Okay, that was dangerous, but I had to do it. Had to do it. We do not have his arm, unfortunately. I forget how his arm recharges. I don't think it's strictly time. I think it's kills, although it could be damage. It could be just, you know, doing enough damage to an enemy might trigger the recharge. It might not necessarily have to be a kill. So, oh damn it, see what I should have done is gone for a regular guy, because these Bella Sisters are more resilient and definitely not very useful in terms of keeping a combo going unless we have Krauser's arm to work with. Now, flash grenade would be very nice right now. So would this though. That was beautiful. 69,900 points. I don't care what we do for the rest of this video. We have done it. That is, what is that? That's number 9. Or is it number 9? I think it's number 9. I think we're 9 out of 20. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because we have 2 more characters after him. That adds to 8. If we're at 9, that means 3 more. 12. 12 plus 8 is 20. I can math. So, this is it. We have done it. Krauser is awesome. I hope that anybody who might have been on the fence about Mr. Krauser has now seen his potential, even in the hands of a subpar Mercenaries player like myself. He is very, very effective. And look at that. After I don't care anymore, suddenly I'm doing very well. That was amazing. 73,000, 20 kills. I wonder how many points we can actually manage to rack up. Looks like 20 is the max we're going to get, because I didn't know what it was to turn around. There was a villager right there. God damn it. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Mission end. We are done for today. That's going to be another weekend of Mercenaries. So tomorrow should be another Warcraft video. I will see you next weekend where we continue Krauser's exploits. Hope you enjoyed this. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.